hear a bit more about your stories then. I want to know who your favorite facilitators to watch and learn from are. I've mentioned that, the five of you are amongst mine. There's maybe one or two, one who's not in Singapore now and one who is busy today, but you five are definitely amongst the top few. But who are your favorite facilitators? Prakash,
Don.
do you want to start us off?
Doug. Just go down. Doug, Don, Aaron, Sheila, Lewis. I could just go on like that, So I've had the privilege, right? And I really consider it a privilege to have been either a participant or I've been a fly on the wall when people have facilitated. So I've been facilitated by Doug, and I have seen the other end of I've reached the other end of the tunnel, and I'm still healthy and fine. And that was a brilliant process because he was facilitating a group of NS men, right? So my NS group that I talked about, which is a group of facilitators, and as Aaron pointed out, it is very difficult to facilitate a group of facilitators.
It's generally an exercise in futility. We try nonetheless.
Yeah. So we set aside, I think 2 hours, and then we realized, okay, the 2 hours is just to set the rules, the underground rules. But Doug was able to do that, and I was stunned because I've tried, and we failed to facilitate among ourselves. But so that was, so it's not just the learning that I got from that exercise. It was the very fact how you kept the space, and not only how you started the whole process, how you engaged us. And I thought that was, that's just brilliant. It was just me being in awe. And I thought for a while, right, I forgot about the fact that, I'm in charge of this group. I forgot all about that. I just said then, did that.
Yes, had a fanboy moment.
The fanboy moment, yeah, that's right. So that's, so clearly Doug. But, if I can also add on, right, the group that I'm in, it's called COFAX, right, the Cohesion Facilitator group that I'm in. It's brilliant, and the kinds of expertise that are there. And so I've had the privilege of being part of a group. When we facilitate, we do it as a group, a small team, right? And each of them, I've got different strengths at different points. And every time I've been there for 20 years. Every single session, I've probably done hundreds of sessions. Every single session, I learned something new. So Doug, since you're here, thank you. My COFAC brothers, wherever you may be, thank you as well. I think that.
I want to go next so that I can fangirl since Prakash has fanboyed. But I genuinely meant it when I said Don. And I have someone else to mention as well, but I do want to talk first about why my first reaction was Don. And that's because, Don has been a mentor figure in my life for many years, right? And I feel like a lot of what I do as a facilitator comes from having watched not just you, but also the people that you have influenced and trained as facilitators. So that kind of that discipline or approach to facilitation, the Don School of Facilitation has kind of trickled down to many people. And the thing that I find most remarkable about it is the humanity that you bring to it. I feel like when you use the Don approach or when you watch Don facilitate, she genuinely makes everybody feel seen and feel heard and feel valued as a human being. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. It matters that you're in the room and she's interested. And when you're talking, you have her full attention, which I can say as a facilitator, it's really hard to give, right? Especially doing a long session with many people. So I find that continually impressive. Thank you, Don, for all that you do and all that you've taught us. And the other person I want to mention is someone who I think many of us know as well, Eva Aminuddin from the Civil Service College. So when I was a young civil servant and I was attending my first milestone program at the college, she was our learning partner, right? And the thing that really, I love Eva. We've become good friends. She's an amazing person. She's also written for the birthday book, beautiful piece about living as a Muslim woman in America for a year. But I will always remember this one moment which really still informs my fundamental approach to facilitation today. So I'm a young officer sitting in a room. We've had like a really hard day. It's been a content-packed day. The speakers were not great. We're all really tired. It's been a very long program and everyone is just feeling really low on energy. And she comes to the front of the room and, you expect, right, as a young officer that the facilitator or the curator or the learning partner is going to be like, guys, we can do this, hype you up and like get your energy back up. And she went, I don't know about you guys. I found that last session really hard. Did you guys find that session really hard to get through? I found it hard. And all of us, you could see the tension get out of everybody's shoulders. Everyone was like, she is being real. It was hard. It was a really boring session. And it was right after lunch. It was hard to stay awake. And And
Surely that never happened.
it's reality, right?
Aaron, were you in the room? Just checking. Just checking.
Hey. No, and the fact that she was willing to be authentic like that, even though it didn't fit in what I thought was the traditional job description of a facilitator or a learning partner who's like supposed to rah-rah and insist on, good vibes only, positivity always. She was willing to acknowledge the sentiment in the room, the real sentiment in the room. And so to this day, I really try to emulate that when I facilitate. I don't know how well I do it, but if I feel like something went badly, I try to not let the elephant in the room.
Right. To name
it, yeah. And so, Eva, if you're watching, love you. Thank you for that lesson.
So, we've got Doug, Dawn, and Eva so far. Lewis?
So for myself, I think I would like to acknowledge a group of people, the teachers. For me, I'm always very fascinated by them because for two reasons. One is because most of the time, the teachers clearly have more domain knowledge, right? They are here to teach. So it's always fascinating to see how they have restraint in terms of not just teaching them, but really help to facilitate the learning of the students. And the other, I guess, is just because for teachers themselves, they also have to do lesson plan, which effectively is just a facilitation plan. And for them, they're so geeky about it, right? So if you, and I think that's another group where it's also hard to facilitate because when you try to facilitate them, they'll just step out and then try to break down your facilitation plan and give you suggestions, etc. Yeah. But I really love that the geekiness of it and to learn from them.
Okay, cool. Right, Dawn and Doug, you've both been named already, but I'd like to hear who your favorites are.
I go. So to that question, the two names that came immediately to mind are Doug. Sorry to repeat, but it's true. Doug is a wonderful facilitator. And the other person that comes to mind is Mian. She's an expert OD, scholar, practitioner, teacher. And I was thinking to myself, what is it about Doug and Mian that are similar? What are these common traits that we can learn from? And when I watch both of them facilitate, one thing that strikes me is just how whole they are. They come into a space and they're there not just mentally, but they're there emotionally and they're there obviously physically, but their whole presence shows up and it makes it very safe for the rest of us then to bring our whole selves into the room. The second trait about the both of them that I just love so much is that they observe and see things that the rest of us don't, like they catch dynamics, they catch tension points and they bring it up. They like the elephants in the room that we mentioned earlier. And that just really helps to make the conversation much richer. So thank you, Doug. I learned so much from you. And Mian, if you're watching this, thank you too.
I'm loving this because Sheila talked about recognizing the humanness of every individual in the room. And you're talking about the humanness of the facilitators, right? And I guess those are mirror processes of each other. Doug, you get the last word on this question.
Okay, so mine would be you, Dawn. And this is not just... This is not even for this session. I often am asked this kind of question, and I always say it's you. And maybe I'm listening to a few what you said, and if I just maybe put it in some frameworks about why, right? Because I think we want to know why. So for me, one way to think about facilitation from a very big perspective is purpose, help a group get to where they want to go, to have a process to help them get there, and also to take care of the people. So all those qualities about being genuine, about being open, being empathic, all those qualities that help to do that. And one part, actually, Prakash, you mentioned design earlier. I am often asked to facilitate, to teach facilitators, and I say, actually, I think more importantly, you better start with design. So that's another thing that you do amazingly well. So you design, because if you want to get to a certain place and you want to have a process, it needs a lot of preparation, a lot of diagnostics, a lot of planning to get to that. So you do all of those things, as every single one, as best as anyone I could ever imagine. Yeah.